Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good
Yeah.
time. What's
Oh,
up, everybody? Welcome. I think that we are live. So if you can hear this, let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. I like to start there. It's always good to see the people where they've been. We've traveled quite a bit in our sales careers, so it's good to see where people are tuning in from. I think we're live, so we're going to get started here. We are interviewing somebody that I have known for, gosh, how long has it been now? 2015.
I think so. Yeah.
One of the first people that was like really open to like networking with me. Melissa Morrisette is here. Shout out Portland, Oregon, for joining. I appreciate you. Tessa, thank you so much. Portland is the weirdest place that I think I've ever visited in the U.S. Not in the world, but in the U.S. Oh, shout out Kenya. I will be in Ghana soon. Africa has my heart. I spend a lot of time in Africa. Kirsten, I said your name right this time. Kirsten, thank you so much for joining from Grand Rapids. All right, let me introduce Melissa to you guys. Melissa Morrisette is with Innovative Kitchen and Bath. She's a professional salesperson, and Melissa has been doing design for over 20 years. It's not just the jobs, it's SDR to account manager to business owner to consultant and then back again. So Melissa's had a long run, but she's also taken a step back from design and spent some time selling in the SaaS space briefly. So she's back in action now, selling where her heart is happy. We're back in the design space. Melissa, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks so much, James. I'm so excited to be here, and it's awesome. I'm excited for our talk today.
It's going to be good. All right. So, first, I want you to talk about your brief stint in SaaS. We know you're a design selling expert, but you took a step back because SaaS was really attractive at the time. You were like, I think I'd be really good at that. And you took a step into it. And for the most part, it worked out well. So I want you to talk about your experience in the SaaS space.
Yeah, I've actually had like two opportunities in that world. One was selling websites, and I actually used to design websites on my own, so I know a lot about it. I don't know as much maybe as tech, but I know the graphics and all that. So networking was really key for me, not knowing a lot of technical language and just being really honest with people about my background. I think really helps because each industry has its own language and background, and so people can tell pretty quickly what you know and you don't know. And I feel like SaaS is definitely a different language, and it has its own, you know, different words that people use. So people can tell pretty quickly like how much you know and you don't know. But I would say I had a great time learning about SaaS, and selling the website was a good experience. I did that with, it was called Wingcom at the time. And then I worked for another company that had a chat service. And I was really attracted to that because how they sell and how they operate that service is really about first class service. It's not a robot, it's an actual person. And the people really take the time to develop conversations in the chat, which turn into leads for different businesses. And so I was really attracted about the people that worked there and how they went about doing their business. But at the same time, it was definitely very different than how I know how to sell and do design. A lot of cold calling, a lot of reaching out to prospects people have already contacted. And so I learned a lot about like gatekeepers. I learned a lot about how you talk differently to people that don't know you and aren't really looking for your product. That I felt was really challenging, but I did learn a lot on how to overcome some of those challenges.
You know, when we start in SaaS, I think almost every seller that starts in SaaS, it's like drinking from a fire hose for the first year because there's all these changes coming at you. And even if you have past sales experience, it can be really challenging to transition over to the SaaS space. But you did it so well, and I remember when you were working with the human part of it, the second opportunity that you had, you were always coming to me like, how do I, and we would have great conversations around just good conversation with prospects and the way that we break through to new accounts and always be prospecting, right? Like, man, I'm doing all these things and I I can't. I, you when you have that switch, it can be really challenging to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All
I
right.
would say,
So
I would say really quick, just to jump in there, James, is one thing during our friendship, and you've given me a lot of professional advice, and I've called you in the past a lot of times.
I know.
So I would say one thing that's really great about James, just to kind of talk about you for a second, is you are so willing to show anybody and everybody how you do what you do and how you do reach out. And I remember you showing me, and you did it in a Zoom where I could like see, oh, you go onto Facebook, you get this information. And so James is a professional stalker. So I just want to say thank you, because I felt supported in our friendship as a professional by you taking that time. Also.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And that's my whole why, right? I like to give my time, and that's what we're doing here. I want to give my time to other sales professionals. When you decided that design was your passion and you wanted to dedicate your life with it to the whole thing, like what? Yeah, I know. Camera walk-ins. Sorry about that. Life happens. This is working in 2022, you guys. Life happens when you're trying to get stuff done.
Right.
When was it that you decided that design was the passion? That was the thing you wanted to sell the best. It was the thing you wanted to do.
Well, I started doing sales when I was 18. So I went from, selling women's shoes to selling fine jewelry to selling makeup. And I was a makeup artist through college. But what made me really decide about design was I loved being a makeup artist. It's lots of fun. You get to put on makeup. But it's very superficial and you're like on your feet. And I was thinking long term, the reason design is such a passion is my dad was in construction when I grew up. My mom was in real estate. So I was always around nice houses, conversations, and business was around residential houses.
The visuals were there.
Yeah. So it's like I grew up this way. So I knew a lot about houses. And so I just really had a friend that was a makeup artist. She was going for interior design. And I thought, well, I'm going to check that out because that's much broader. It's not, we're all going to get wrinkles. I got gray hair. I dye. It's like this stuff happens. So I just felt like I wanted something deeper. And that's where I think interior design like stole my heart, because it's also about creating function. Beauty is important, but beauty is not everything. So.
Well, you recognized the beauty of the homes you were around. You saw the things that visually were exciting for you, and you turned that into a career. And we always say that if you're not passionate about what you're selling, go sell something else. Go do something else, right? You have to carry that passion. You used to schedule appointments and coordinate events at Ferguson Enterprises. Was that an inbound function? And how did that help you as a seller in the current space that you're in today?
Yeah, I think that position was really vital. I was coming from a sales position when I took that. So it was a little challenging to maybe step into a role. We may think like admin or different positions aren't as viable or valuable. So as coming from a salesperson into that role was a little hard because I was no longer a salesperson. So now I was supporting all the salespeople, and I was scheduling events. People would come into the showroom, and my job was to kind of talk to them. I was kind of like the gatekeeper, see like what they were looking for, and then I would hook them up with a salesperson, or not, maybe schedule an appointment later.
So that's like an in-person SDR almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say like through my career, I have had very different roles in all the roles probably, which makes sales great. That job, we would do events. And so we wouldn't do events just to spend money. Obviously, the events had to have some kind of traction behind it. We had to show return on the money we were investing. We'd host events for spa days, for designers, and all different things. So I think with that role, I just really learned a lot about being a team player and how we all work together. How my job was probably more vital than any salesperson there. But you don't think of it that way. I'm the first interaction. I'm like the first face they see. I'm the first person they talk to. I'm the one that makes setting up to a sale possible.
That's that first impression, and it's always great to have somebody with that kind of experience. How does Melissa use LinkedIn? That's a good question. Jim, we will talk about LinkedIn definitely, because she does use LinkedIn and she does create content. So we will definitely talk about that. Selling interior design is definitely a niche. It's unique, right? It's got to be different. It takes time to perfect. How does it flow when every need is different and the different tastes kind of play into the decision-making process? Because this looks different than selling something that's static. You're almost selling a level of creativity here.
Oh, yeah. So in this space of interior design, it can go very much commercial, it can go residential, it can go to a wide range of stuff. It could be something simple to something really large. So I would say it's just like anything else, and that's the conversation. You need to talk to somebody and see where they're at. Timing is huge in this arena, because any large ticket process of a sale, there's a couple different people, right? There's somebody that's got money in their pocket and they want to spend it. Some people have to spend it by a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the money.
It's use it or lose it for some.
Yeah, some don't have the money, but they're going to save it to get the money. So you can have things go 2 to 5 years. You could have something go 6 months. You could have somebody that's been saving for a long time and they're ready to buy like today. It's really a big range, but I would say like the success I've had is really digging very deep in conversations. And I think finding out who's not your customer, because not everybody's your customer, is really vital. And what I'm doing now, it's really about a partnership. It's about a very long time span. Somebody might contact my company. I might not see them for 2 months because that's how long I'm booked out for.
Right.
Then they have to meet with me. Then I might not see them for another month, depending on their schedule or my schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of breathing room. That's interesting. It's interesting that you use that time, that time frame, and yet it may or may not hurt your deal cycle. We know in our space, in the space of selling technology, time is the murderer of all deals. But in your industry, you expect this time. This time is something that is common for people to take. And you can't worry about other people whispering in their ear and other.
You want them to talk to other people, to be honest.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Why do you want them to talk to others?
You'll even see ads like for different home improvement companies. They'll say like, please get 2 other bids, get 3 bids, or get some people. You'd be surprised, James. They will get like 10 bids. I don't know how they have time. And with COVID, I don't know why they would take that risk, but some people don't get any bids. So it's out there. It's a huge range. I'm not afraid of someone else getting a bid. I would prefer they did get a bid. I try to let them know this is the average price. I want them to choose the right person to work with, because it's not, if I was selling a chair, then I'm going to sell it. You don't need to go get another bid.
Right.
But I'm selling a project. I'm selling my team, which is a lot of people, and I'm selling over a span of time. Yeah, and it's over a span of time. So if we're not the right fit, it's better to find that out. We wouldn't want to sign somebody up that's not the right fit, because it's going to hurt them and it's going to hurt us.
What's your average, if you don't mind saying it, what's your average customer worth?
What do you mean by that?
Your average contract value. If you close a deal, if somebody buys from you and they're going to remodel their kitchen, what's the average kitchen remodel worth today?
And that's always a great question, because every kitchen has a different size and everybody uses different materials in the Seattle market. So if you go on a website, it's not my website, it's called Cost versus Value. It'll tell you nationally what the averages are. It'll tell you state and in your city even. It's called Cost versus Value. But in Seattle, Yeah, Seattle is an expensive state, as you probably know. So, like an average kitchen, if it's a medium-sized kitchen, it could be anywhere from, I'd say, like 65 to 85. If it's a large kitchen, it'll be like over 100.
Yeah. That's still a pretty high ticket item, even in a place as opulent as Seattle. So, I would say that, in my world, that's considered a mid-sized deal, mid-market to enterprise sized deal, depending on the cost of the software, depending on the solution that's being sold, or depending on the service that's being delivered. But I would say that's a very high average contract value, in my opinion. What would you say your best skill is as a seller?
I think, what customers tell me is I'm really patient. So I don't push people. I listen. I talk less usually than the homeowner.
Mm,
So I really am listening to what they want because I'm trying to identify if I'm the right fit for them.
yeah,
One example could be if somebody wanted to build out their house. Well, my company doesn't move the roof line. So I have to kind of listen to all the stuff they're looking to do to see, like, is that in the scope of what we do? Are we a good fit for this person? The other thing I really think about is if someone's waiting like 2 months for an appointment, like I better like really be polite. I better really listen to them because that's a long time to wait, So I'm really looking at more like this is their time.
yeah.
I'm thinking of my time, but I'm really thinking like
But
they're
you're thinking of your time in the sense of how long it will take you to assemble the Avengers and get the job done in a timely
yeah,
fashion once they've decided to move forward, right? That's how you're thinking of your time. But when it comes to actually making the decision, you can't be on your time. You have to be on their time. And you
yeah,
expect those big swaths of time to go by because they're going to go get more bids in most cases, and they're going to talk to other people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that they're gonna get more information and that they're gonna
How does
explore
that
that.
work to your advantage, Melissa?
Well, to be honest, I go in and I really listen to people and I talk and I measure and I'm very detailed. I'm very like too methodical sometimes, to be honest. So a lot of salespeople don't do that. They come in really quickly. They'll throw out some numbers. They may measure, they may not. There's some contractors that will just be like, I'm not going to do a job if it's not like 80,000 or
Hmm.
it's a different era where, before I would say like 2010, when we had like more of a recession, a lot of contractors were probably pricing lower just to get jobs. Now in this inflated economy, some people just don't want to waste their time and that's
Yeah.
their prerogative, but that's
Yeah.
not really how we do business. So.
I'd be interested in how the audience has experience with contractors as well. If you've had a bad experience with a contractor, without throwing any shade, let me know in the comments, because the contractor side of this is what Melissa is. She is a contractor essentially.
Mhm.
Because that's true, she's working with a client and it's on their convenience, it's at their time. And in a lot of ways, I feel like people just have terrible experiences with contractors because the expectation of the contractor is that everything will happen the way that they think it should happen. And the whole idea is that the client control most of the decision making process. Would you say that marketing and sales alignment functions different in the design space? I know that we struggle in the SaaS space, in the technology space, but how does marketing and sales alignment function in the design and the interior design space?
Yeah, I mean that is vital to our success as marketing, and I think where I work with Innovative Kitchen and Bath, they do an excellent job with marketing. I think that's a huge part of my success. One is the person that answers the calls, that schedules the appointments. She is so happy. I'm always like, man, I wish I was so bubbly like her. So it's really key for us to do marketing and do it really well. And you got to spend money on it because it's something that obviously is going to pay a return. I think every company struggles with where to put their dollars and what's really going to work. But once you find out the things that work, it's important to invest in them. And I think as a team, as a company, everybody should really talk about that. I used to actually track when I was a manager. I would track kind of, like I said before, at a different company too. It's like we invested in something and what did we get out of it? How many sales? What did it generate?
That seems to always be the question when you invest in anything as a business. You want to see, what did it get me? And if the answer is nothing, you question whether or not you should be doing it in the future again. But I think you should do them, but really look at the data behind it, right? And I think it functions that same way in most industries. If we can tie revenue back to something we did, let's do it more. Let's do it again. Let's do it bigger and see what happens. So there's that A/B testing. One of the things that we know is that Angie's List plays a big role in your space. Do you
Yeah.
guys leverage that platform often? Do you hear a lot about what people say on Angie's List about you?
Yeah. I mean, Angie's List is huge for us. And I would say for a lot of remodeling companies in my area, it just happens to be a platform that does really well. So I've worked at different companies that use Angie's List also. And I'll just say, like, if I get an Angie's List lead, I'm like always excited because I'm just like, oh, like it's so easy for me to do Angie's List. I don't know. Um, you get great referrals on it and great reviews, but there's something about that customer that is going onto that platform and that you get it. I'm always excited to get an Angie's List lead.
Yeah, an Angie's List lead. I feel like that's something that every customer in your service, every company in your service industry should be looking at, right? Well, how do they leverage those leads?
Yeah.
Jim asked earlier how you leverage LinkedIn. One of the things, before we say how you leverage it on a day-to-day basis, one of the things I know that you started doing recently, probably a year or so ago, maybe a little more, is you started to create your own content. How has content creation improved awareness for your brand and helped you to make and close more deals?
Yeah, I would say content creation is vital. I would say it's a touchy subject for some, just to help other people out there. Some people aren't comfortable doing videos, right? So then they'll do like a post, they'll do like a written post. There's all different ways you can do LinkedIn. I would say for LinkedIn, I've met so many people. We have a LinkedIn group. So I've been involved in that where we do events in Seattle. I've met people like you, James, and so I'm so lucky. Doing content, I think I have not mastered that by any means. I'm an emotional person, so I want to share stuff, and many people will be like, hey, like that's oversharing or that's too much or but at the end of the day, it's like this is who I am. And I would like to just be who I am. And so I probably say more than I should. I'm probably more open. So I think, do content how you want to do it, how you see fit.
Own
I
it
would
yourself.
I would really discourage people. I see people on there, or you get those inbox messages, and they're like so salesy. They're so surface. Um, People can tell if you're being genuine or not. They can tell like what your motive is. So how I've used LinkedIn, to be pretty frank, is really develop relationships. I don't believe I've used it to create money yet. I have gotten jobs and opportunities from it, but I've really used it just to like learn about myself, be creative, and just try to have fun and meet people and develop relationships. I hope to maybe turn it up a different notch in the future, but for right now, I'm just kind of happy doing it the way I do.
I think that LinkedIn in your space might be something that's more introspective, more of a personal experience and a building of your brand online, a digital footprint project, more so than it would be a lead generator, right? Because you're not going to create a video on LinkedIn about interior design locally in Seattle and then have somebody from Florida reach out to you and be like, hey, I saw your video on LinkedIn. Can you fly down here and remodel my kitchen? Like, that is very unlikely. But I
Yeah.
think what it did do was it helped you to break out of that shell and start networking and start talking to people and start finding out who you were as a seller, a professional, learn other skills and absorb information that helped you to develop and grow in your career, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say, I went and took like a Toastmasters class because I was trying to learn how to speak better. You get critiqued in those classes. So I think if we're all open to getting feedback and kind of taking what we think really applies to us, it's all helpful, whether that's on LinkedIn or in your personal life or professional. It's just something like you got to try it, you got to do it. I did the videos, and I think there was times it was painful where I was like, wow, like I wouldn't edit them. I just like put it out there, and I was like, should I even have done that? And then I thought, you know what? At least I did it. At least I'm trying.
Yeah.
And maybe they get better over time. You just kind of have to do it.
Well, we've been talking with a lot of sellers that are becoming more transactional. There's becoming more of a transactional trend in sales in general. It's more volume, right? There's a lot of like, get to the next stage faster. Your in-person meetings, if you're on a sales floor, they come, they approach, they talk to you face to face. That's a transactional moment. For those transactional sellers out there, or for the people that run longer sales cycles that have transactional moments in their sales cycles, what's the best skill that you could advise them to work on that helps move the needle from one stage to another in a transactional setting?
Yeah, well, I will give you a little story, and hopefully this stays on topic. So my little story is I worked in this high-end showroom in Bellevue, and it's beautiful. And we'd sell $20,000 sofas, chairs at the time that cost more than the car that I drove. They'd be like 5,000 or 6,000. My car is probably worth $1,000 at the time. So I've always sold like high-end stuff or different luxury products. But I had a customer, she just came in and she just wanted help with the lamp. So of course I could have just like wrote up the lamp and like sent her on the way, but I just kind of kept talking to her, just kind of having conversations. So I did sell her the lamp, but then I got invited to go out to her house and just threw out everything. And it was really the coolest project because it was like all these fun traditional pieces. And I ended up selling her like $50,000. And, and she even said like, I just came in for a lamp and you're just like so friendly and fun. And, went out to her house and she had a gorgeous house. But I just had like the funnest time with her, just kind of like how we're having fun with this conversation. And it's like, I didn't look at her like, I'm going to sell her that. I just looked at her like, I'm just going to help her. And
Yeah.
I think you could be handling like the smallest thing ever, right? It could be like, maybe you're selling a pen. I don't know. But it can like lead to other things. So I think the biggest thing is like, be you, have a great conversation, listen to what people talk about. And then sometimes there's a door open to another conversation, but you can't just be like, blah, you got to like have a conversation and dig deeper.
I love that story. And I like that you weren't focused on the sale. You were focused on the assistance that you were delivering. And that's what led to the sale. I think people think about the dollar so much and so hard. They forget about the person through which that dollar comes. And that story is a great representation of that concept. Where can people reach out to you if they want you to remodel their bathroom or kitchen? No, I'm kidding. Where can they connect with you? Where can they connect with you if they want to talk more, get to know you, connect with you on LinkedIn, obviously, but where can they find you? How do they find you?
I'd say like, if you really want to talk to me, I would say send me a voicemail on the inbox on LinkedIn.
Very
That's what
nice.
I like. Because I'm
Voice
like,
notes.
wow. Yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really read my inbox messages. I'm pretty awful. Because I get so many that I just am like, they're really awful, to be honest.
Well, I want to thank you for coming today and sharing your insights despite your opinion of LinkedIn DM messages. Melissa is a great.
If they're great, I respond.
Melissa is a great person to connect with. Anybody that wants to connect with her, feel free and talk to her. She's a great person to build a relationship with. And if there's anything I can tell you about transactional sales, it's transitions, move from one thing to the other quickly. That's something that every transactional seller does. Thank you to everybody that came to the show today. This has been a great episode of Surviving Sales. We're going to see you next week when we talk to another stellar seller that can help you guys level up. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, James.